The Mario franchise is absolutely massive. I'm gonna assume you know that. There are so many different spin-offs that have sprawled from a simple tale of a plumber saving a princess. It's honestly kind of crazy. And today I am ranking every single one of them. Couple things to keep in mind. The two main Mario lines, 2D and 3D, won't feature in this video, since they're not spin-offs, and in order to qualify as a series, there has to be more than one game. So no one-offs like Princess Peach Showtime or Captain Toad. I don't think it's fair to compare one game against multiple. Oh, and this list is 100% subjective and personal. After all, we're covering so many different genres even. It's sports games compared to story-based RPGs, it's always gonna be completely subjective. That said, feel free to disagree with me and share your opinions in the comments down below. Let's dive in. We're gonna start with the well-deserved loser in the last spot, which is number 22, the Mario Discovery Series. Genuinely never knew this was a thing. I had heard of and even played some of the games individually, but I never knew that the educational titles like Mario's Missing and Mario's Time Machine were considered part of the greater Mario Discovery Series. Developed by the software Toolworks, there's no other way around it, these games suck big time. They're not the worst thing to ever bear the Mario name, I say as I side-eye Hotel Mario, but it is easily the worst spin-off series the franchise has ever produced. It's genuinely not even close. The graphics are hideous, the gameplay is non-existent, and the story is a mess. It's just not it. And don't get me wrong, this is all understandable. Within the time and budget this was made, it's serviceable enough. But compared to the absolute legendary series that are yet to come, it falls short by a wide margin. Next up is the worst Mario spin-off series developed by Nintendo, which in my eyes is Wrecking Crew. Now, these two games are not totally awful, they're fun for like 5 minutes, which makes them better suited for arcades than home consoles. I mean, it says enough that this series' most recent output is from 1998. This one really is a product of its time. In the year 2024, it's a bottom-of-the-barrel multiplayer game, an even worse one from a single-player perspective. Wrecking Crew is a piece of history, which the Mario movie honored in a very nice way, but it definitely belongs in a museum instead of in your gaming console nowadays. Then we get to number 20, which is a series you might not even realize is technically a part of the Mario franchise. I'm talking about Game & Watch Gallery, a series of games that covered the classic Game & Watch titles in a Mario coat of paint and brought them to, at the time, modern consoles. Now, basically everything I said about Wrecking Crew applies here as well, but why this one ranks higher is for two simple reasons. One, its final game is a lot more recent than Wrecking Crew, as the final entry is on the Game Boy Advance. That means, simply enough, that the game just looks and plays better than the best Wrecking Crew title from 5 years earlier. And secondly, these titles are effectively 6 games in one, as the box art has made sure we know. And while those 6 games are hardly anything groundbreaking, they can definitely run with another basic formula like Wrecking Crew. So yeah, only because this is a collection of simple games, as opposed to just one, it has to rank higher. We continue with niche series for our next entry, number 19, the duology of Itadaki and Fortune Street. These two games are crossover titles with the Dragon Quest series and developed by Square Enix. The original, on DS, is Japan exclusive, but the Wii follow-up was released worldwide. While these may be crossovers between some historic gaming series known for their incredible adventures, the result is a bunch of party games. Where have I heard that before? And to make matters even worse, these party games are based on one of the worst board games in existence, Monopoly. Now, Itadaki Street is actually a pretty old series, dating back to the Famicom, and has constantly had relative success with their Monopoly formula. While this isn't the worst thing ever, it has absolutely nothing on Mario Party, the game it definitely resembles a tad too much. That said, the board themes are actually a lot cooler, as they're based on locations from the main Mario games. We've got Delvino Plaza, Good Egg Galaxy, and Yoshi's Island, along with iconic Dragon Quest locations as well. But at the end of the day, this short-lived crossover cannot compare to the big Mario spin-offs, which start pouring in right about now. Because yes, the time of small and relatively unknown series has ended, we've arrived in Big Boy Town. And that means this is where the painful decisions have to be made. Which series is the worst established spin-off of them all? Well, for me, the answer is number 18, Dr. Mario. The reason for this is really pretty simple. I don't like puzzle games like this. It has never drawn my interest, games where you do the same kind of puzzle over and over trying to best your high score. It's just not for me. Dr. Mario is perfectly fine and serviceable at what it does, but what it does just doesn't appeal to me. And considering this is not the kind of series which can innovate and reinvent itself, I doubt that will ever change. I am curious though, a question to all Dr. Mario fans. Is there a game in the series that's considered better than the others? And is there a worst one too? From the outside looking in, they all look fairly identical, so I'm curious whether that is the case. Time for our first Mario sports game next, which is actually gonna be one of the most long-standing entries, Mario Golf. This series was always facing an uphill battle for me, cause while I'm absolutely a sports guy, I don't care for golf. The only time I ever enjoyed it was in Wii Sports, which honestly makes me all the more surprised the Wii never got a Mario Golf title. That could have been the one that had pushed the series up the list for me, but alas, it wasn't to be. I do like what they did on handhelds though, where they turned the game into more of an RPG, which worked pretty nicely. Unfortunately though, I personally feel Mario sports games really shine as multiplayer titles on consoles, and this one never really did that for me. No matter the console, the titles never stuck around in my rotation and always lost out to other Mario spin-offs that are as such higher on the list. Super Rush did have a good looking trailer originally, but like basically all Mario sports titles on Switch, it eventually fell short of those expectations, so that won't save it either. On to number 16, which is gonna be the Mario vs Donkey Kong series. These titles have similar problems to Dr. Mario for me, in that I'm just not too big a fan of the puzzle mechanics in this game. I just don't find it too compelling, and when you consider there are several entries in the series that go for something slightly different, only for it to fall flat, you might understand why I just can't put it higher up on the list. I do think the first two games in the series are good though, and the fact that they're single player games with a bit of a story and natural progression to them help edge it out over Dr. Mario and Mario Golf. But I must admit, this one just isn't for me. Even as a kid, I always found this series a little weird. I'm not from a time when Mario and Donkey Kong were rivals, let alone him being a villain, so that setup didn't really resonate with me. And the whole toy aspect, while unique and definitely interesting, is not something that was ever able to sell the series for me. We reach the top 15 now, where we find the Super Mario Land games. Now, these are technically mainline Mario games, but I think they're so different from the main ones that you can consider them a sort of sub-series of their own and eligible for this video. There are two games carrying the Mario Land name, both on Game Boy, and it immediately illustrates the problems that arise when looking at it through a modern lens. In essence, these games are good. They're cool 2D platformers with fun mechanics, interesting new worlds and enemies, and banging music. But we cannot overlook how age has caught up with these titles. The graphics are not good. Both games are incredibly short, and the controls are unbearable nowadays, honestly. So stiff, so archaic, it's not fun anymore. But I do recognize these games are in essence good. Should they ever be remade with modern graphics and controls, I think most people, me included, would like them. So this position feels about accurate for what they currently offer. In number 14, we find that other big crossover series, Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games. Looking back at this series, especially now that it seems over, it feels like such a fever dream. I really wonder how this collaboration came to be and who decided it should be an Olympic Games themed minigame fest instead of something actually worthwhile. That said, at the time this was groundbreaking, and most entries in the series are actually pretty fun at what they do. There were definitely some highlights spread across the several games, with the dream events being really cool and some sports being a fun time. I remember fencing and ping pong, for example, to be a lot of fun. But at the end of the day, these are just incredibly repetitive minigames, and if you've played, say, one of the summer and winter games, you've really played them all. I think it's fitting the last game in the series was the Tokyo Olympics. That feels like an appropriate one to end on. If Mario and Sonic ever reappears, I hope it's in a genre of games that has a little more meat to its bones and actually allows more interaction between these iconic characters. We have another sports series in number 13, this time being Mario Tennis. It definitely helps here that I find tennis to be a lot more interesting than, say, golf, even if it's still not my favorite or anything. Mario Golf and Mario Tennis are pretty similar in the way the series have developed, having the RPG-like titles on handhelds and the main multiplayer fests on consoles. That said, Mario Tennis is heavily carried by me finding tennis a lot more compelling than golf, because when looking at the actual game quality, tennis has dropped the ball more than you would like. Both Mario Tennis Open and Ultra Smash are not good, and while Aces on Switch has ended up decent enough, it took way too many updates to get there. But at the end of the day, playing most Mario Tennis titles with friends or even single player is a fun time, and that's what has put it above its sister series Mario Golf, and it has more meat on its bones than Mario and Sonic, so that also finishes below it. On to number 12, which is gonna be another crossover series, this time with Ubisoft Rabbids. It's actually kind of ironic this is the highest placed one, as while I really like Sonic and also enjoy Dragon Quest, I do not enjoy the Rabbids at all. I just don't like them. They're not my humor, it's not my thing. If it's your thing, again, more power to you, but it's not my thing. What is my thing though, is the gameplay of these games. I really enjoy tactical strategy games, and while these two Switch games are a tad too beginner friendly for my tastes, I still really enjoyed the gameplay of them. And that's exactly the reason why this series is placed right here in the middle of the pack, despite my dislike of the Rabbids. Had this been the Sonic collaboration, then these games would have been really high up, but for now, they'll have to settle for the 12th spot. One place higher in 11th, we have the Yoshi series. While it is basically a franchise of its own nowadays, Yoshi's Island is in essence still a spin-off from Mario World, and as such, counts for this video. In a similar fashion, we will, spoiler alert, also feature the Wario games in this list, but not the Donkey Kong titles. After all, if anything, the Mario franchise is a spin-off of Donkey Kong, not the other way around. Anyway, Yoshi games are, more often than not, simply fun. The gameplay is reminiscent of Mario, but has some fun differences thrown in for good measure. We can't look past the difficulty though, which is understandably easy to appeal to a younger audience, but I can't pretend it doesn't hinder my enjoyment of the series somewhat. I will say though, the art styles of these games tend to be fantastic, much better than the 2D Mario platformers in my opinion. From the original Yoshi's Island all the way to Woolly World, these games are always easy on the eyes. But unfortunately, a lack of fulfilling its gameplay potential pushes this game just out of the top 10. Which is where we get to now, the top 10. At this point, we really only have quality series left to go. It's about separating good from great now. And in the 10th position, we find the Wario Land series, a spin-off of the aforementioned Mario Land. Unlike that sub-series, however, this one continued to get games all the way into the Wii, although it has been eerily quiet since then. It's a shame because these games are actually really fun, and just like Yoshi, play with the conventions of 2D Mario games in a very fun way. That said, I do think the 2D Mario games are better, meaning there's a better alternative out there for when you need that 2D platformer fix. The games are also all quite short, which is not a problem in and of itself, but in a ranking like this, it does hurt. But let there be no misunderstandings, the Wario Land games are absolutely quality, just not as good as the series coming up. In the 9th position we find Mario Party, one of the classic multiplayer mayhem titles the Mario franchise has produced. I've spent so many hours on this series with my friends and family, it's a very fond memory. I especially like the era in the GameCube, where each game tried to do something different and really went all in on specific themes like the World Tour cruise ship or day and night mechanics. That said, Mario Party is absolutely not flawless. All console titles are barely anything more than mediocre when playing single player, which is unnecessary really, as handheld titles like Mario Party DS prove. It's also not exactly a secret that Mario Party has been on one hell of a slump in recent times, which it has only recently been able to climb out of a little on the Nintendo Switch, even if I don't think the most recent titles weigh up to the classic ones in terms of charm. So yeah, if I hadn't had a ton of fun with this series in my youth, it would probably be a bit lower on the list, but right now, 9th seems about fair. On to number 8, which I suspect may be my most controversial take yet, if not of the whole video. Again, remember we're at the point where all series are high quality, so it's mostly preference and, admittedly, a good dose of nostalgia making the decisions from now on. Anyway, my number 8 is the Mario and Luigi series, which are finally coming to home console after so far having always been handheld titles. Now, I don't think I'll need to explain to you why these games are so good. They're filled to the brim with charm and fun new environments. They're actually pretty challenging as far as Mario games go, they've always looked amazing with fantastic sprite work, and they're some of the most story-based games in the Mario franchise, which is always a plus. But one thing you'll find is a key feature of all games ranked above this one is replay value. And that's where, in my opinion, Mario and Luigi has always fallen a bit short. I really enjoy my time with these games, but I do not replay them very often. And that also has to do with the fact that when I am in the mood for a Mario RPG, I find myself gravitating more towards that other big RPG spin-off that is yet to come in this video, which I am much more nostalgic for than Mario and Luigi. I never really played these games when I was younger, it's relatively recent that I've grown to love these games. That said, I am very happy the series is back, and who knows, it might cause it to climb on my list in the years to come. But first it must pass the next series on the list. In number 7, we have the two Super Mario Maker games. While the argument could be made these two are mainline titles, I cannot agree with that personally. In my eyes, they're clearly Super Mario Bros. Spin-offs, so they qualify. Anyway, Mario Maker is such an amazing concept. Being able to make your own levels, or as I find myself doing much more, playing endless levels created by others, would have been something I'd fantasize about as a kid and then quickly disregard because I thought it would never happen. But on the Wii U, we finally got it. That said, in my opinion, this series really came into its own on the Switch, but that is definitely partly because I never really created levels, only played what others had made. As such, I wasn't bothered by how much less intuitive the Switch was for creating levels than the Wii U, and instead only got the benefits. That included more playstyles, more things to work with, a better algorithm to weed out the heaps of trash the first game was plagued with, and even a little story mode, which was fun enough in and of itself. While I must admit the dream of endless levels did not turn out exactly as good as I had once hoped, I still fully back the concept of this series, and really hope it isn't over already. But if it is, at least we can thank it for forcing Nintendo to go all out again on Mario Wonder. That's also gotta count for something, right? More multiplayer fun fests coming up, with the 6th spot going to the WarioWare series. Just like with Mario Party, this series has given me so much fun over the years with friends, but unlike Mario Party, this game has had several titles that are fun on your own as well. Mega Micro games, Touched and Gold are all great entries in the series, and while my favorite will always be smooth moves, differences in quality between the games are minimal. WarioWare as a series has always been capable of getting the most out of whichever Nintendo console it's been on, which is an impressive feat in its own right. That said, the two Switch titles have not been as good in my opinion. Get It Together is a really fun time, but it's also a very sharp departure from the traditional playstyle to the point where it does harm the quality a bit. As for Move It, I really wanted to like it, but unfortunately I found it incredibly unresponsive and some microgames just flat out didn't work. Maybe it was my Joy-Cons, I'm not sure, but looking online, I'm not the only one who ran into problems, so I'm inclined to blame the game to some extent. But I'll definitely be getting the next entry again, because WarioWare truly is one of a kind. We've still got two Mario sports titles to tackle, and they'll both be up next as we enter the top 5. In the number 5th spot, we find Mario Strikers. You have to keep in mind here, I'm from Europe. Football was like our thing. So when Mario finally hit the pitch, I was super excited as a kid, and it was an absolute must-have. Mario Smash Football, as it was known here, didn't disappoint either. I sank so many hours into it with friends. The sequel on the Wii, Strikers Charged, was slightly worse, mostly because of annoying controls, but it was still a super fun time. And even in single player, which is not always a given with Mario sports games. Had the series stopped there, Strikers would have been 1 if not 2 spots higher, but unfortunately, Battle League, 1/3 of the series, is not good. I mean, it's still Mario Strikers, so it's not as bad as say the worst Mario Tennis or Golf games, but while the original games were filled to the brim with charm and had a fantastic art style, Battle League feels safe and almost corporate in a way Mario hasn't really felt on the Switch at all. In some ways, it kinda mirrors how the sport has been developing in the real world since my childhood, ironically enough. If you've been keeping count, you'll know what series is taking the 4th spot, the only remaining sports title, Mario Baseball. When a European puts a baseball game so high up on the list, you know it's good. I had no clue how baseball worked when I got the first entry on GameCube, but I loved it regardless. There were so many characters to play as, and many had their own bats they used, like dry bones, using a bone or whatever. It was so cool. And each character even had like chemistry with certain characters that decided whether they would do well on the same team. It was a level of depth I wasn't familiar with from other Mario sports games. So when the sequel on the Wii was released, Sluggers, I was crushed. This game, to this day, has never been released in Europe. I checked Mario news sites weekly, sometimes daily, during the release cycle of this game, waiting for an announcement that never came. Eventually, I ended up playing it through less legal ways and really enjoyed it as well. The contrast with Battle League couldn't be bigger. This game is really grand, especially for a Mario sports game. I mean, King K. Rool is in it. How cool is that? Normally, I would say please bring this series back, but considering what a new entry did to Mario Strikers ranking, I'm not too sure I should really want that. Nah, Switch 2 coming up, that's a new beginning, bring back Mario Baseball and make it good. On to our bronze medalist of the day, which is gonna be Luigi's Mansion. Who could have known a light thriller would have suited the Mario universe so well? It's incredible how this series has more or less created the game style out of thin air and has been able to nearly perfect it in only 3 entries. I genuinely don't really know how to describe what Luigi's Mansion really is, as it's such an uncommon combination of gameplay and style, but it just mashes so well. Luigi's Mansion 3 especially is a stellar game, and in my opinion one of the best looking games in the Mario franchise. And as I have been saying a few times in this video already, I really like when Mario games dare to push the envelope and come up with new characters, designs and themes, and Luigi's Mansion has been stellar at that. There's Boo's, Mario and Luigi himself, and the rest of it is basically all original every time, and that's something I really enjoy. And those exact same qualities can also be found in the recipient of the silver medal of this list, Paper Mario. At least when Paper Mario is at its best. Because that can be a problem, as I'm sure you know. This series has had some unfortunate missteps, although Way Up Again seems to have been found, with Origami King being a pretty good entry. But when Paper Mario is truly on, like in the first 3 entries, it's one of the best experiences the Mario franchise has to offer. So many unique characters, designs and worlds, these games are genuinely masterpieces and can definitely run with the best mainline Mario games. The original 2 titles I don't think I have to waste too many words on explaining why they're great, so I'll instead use this time to defend Super Paper Mario, which has in my eyes always been one of the most underrated games in the franchise. This game oozes with charm, is jam-packed with original and interesting characters, and has one hell of a story to boot. It's every bit as good as the original on Nintendo 64 at least, and I'm tired of pretending it's not. Just you wait. When this game gets the HD treatment, you'll all see how good it really is. But it still has to lose out to the number 1 on this list, the most famous spin-off in Mario history, and that's well deserved. Mario Kart. Honestly, it's not even that close. From the moment I decided I was gonna make this video, I knew Mario Kart would be number 1. I have spent more hours on this series than every other game I've said that about in this video combined. Because as opposed to when I was young or with friends or family, this game is A++ no matter how you play it. Alone, it's a blast. Split screen, it's a blast. Online, it's a blast. It's always great. The holy trinity of the series for me personally is Double Dash, the most unique game, Mario Kart Wii, the game that really showed me the beauty of online gaming, and Mario Kart 8, especially now that it's become the ultimate Mario Kart game. There are almost 100 tracks in this game. I don't know how they're ever gonna top it. But if the history of the series is anything to go by, I'm not too worried. Not only does Mario Kart have more entries than like 90% of the spin-offs in this video, it also has never fumbled. Grown outdated like Super Circuit, or being a little predatory like Thor, sure. But the core games never slip up. And when we'll finally get our first true new entry in like a decade, don't be surprised if it only solidifies its top position even more. And that's every Mario spin-off series ranked. Like I said about 20 minutes ago, let me know your favorites, worst ones, or thoughts in general in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, please consider giving it a like and subscribing to the channel to stay updated on all my future Mario content coming up. For now, thanks for watching and enjoy the rest of your day.